Hello everyone. I think you're all expecting Briefcase. Don't worry, he'll be back next week. For today though, we have a special collaboration, and I am going to be narrating tonight's video. So, sit back and relax as we go back to Querétaro in 1989. Claudia Mijangos was born on May 25th, 1956, in the seaside town of Mazatlan, in the state of Sinaloa. The town is popular with tourists and sits on Mexico's Pacific coast. She was the youngest of 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys. Her mother, Maria de Carmen Arzac, was said to be a dominant, authoritarian and aggressive woman who was extremely religious. Her father, Antonio Mijangos, was apparently a sensitive man, dedicated to his work and with a weak character, who never stood up to his wife. During her childhood, Claudia was a socially friendly girl, popular amongst her friends but not very academic. She went on to study a career in commerce. There was a belief that when she was still a teenager, Claudia won a local beauty contest. However, this can neither be confirmed nor denied. Sadly though, her parents died when she was still relatively young, and when she was 19, she met Alfredo Castaños Gutierrez, a bank employee who was 8 years her senior, and 2 years later, they married and went to live in Querétaro. Now, Querétaro is a very beautiful city, with a historic center that encompasses magnificent colonial building squares, fountains and churches, as well as 74 arched aqueducts that were built in the early 1700s. The city is situated about 200 kilometers northeast of Mexico City and has one of the lowest crime rates in the country, which makes it popular with foreign companies looking to invest in Mexico. In the 1980s, for Claudia and Alfredo, relocating from the seaside town of Mazatlan to one of the country's major cities was an exciting prospect. This city was rapidly growing, as it became a very popular place to live, especially when many people looked to relocate from the nation's capital after the devastating earthquake of 1985. The marriage between Claudia and Alfredo produced 3 children: Claudia Maria, Ana Belén, and Alfredo Antonio. The 3 children attended the Fray Luis de León school, where Claudia had obtained work as a teacher of catechism, ethics and religion. In the late 1980s, Claudia and her husband began to have marital problems. They decided that the best way to work through these would be to attend marriage counseling. Unfortunately, this wasn't successful, and Claudia began to show strong psychological problems. She would experience hallucinations of demons and angels, and she became obsessed with Father Ramon, another teacher at the Fray Luis de León school. It soon became obvious that the marriage was unsustainable, and the couple separated. In early 1989, Claudia started hearing strange voices and experiencing psychotic attacks. She did not want to tell her ex-husband because he had always said that she was crazy. On April 23, 1989, Alfredo Castaños collected his children from school. He took them back to Claudia's house, and Alfredo still loved his wife and was anxious to reconcile with her. But he had heard rumors that she was having a relationship with Father Ramon, and when he questioned her about it, they had a terrible argument, which ended with Claudia shouting at Alfredo that he would be sorry and slamming the door. Alfredo left, and later that evening she put the children to bed, blessed them, and then eventually went to sleep herself. A few hours later, on April 24th, 1989, at approximately 5 a.m., Claudia suddenly woke up as she was hearing loud voices. These voices were telling her that her hometown of Mazatlan had disappeared and that all Querétaro was just a spirit. She listened for a while, trying to decide if they were real or not. Then she got up, got dressed, and the voices were still loud in her mind. Claudia called her friend Veronica Vasquez, who tried to calm her down. Veronica promised to come in the morning to help her, and she told Claudia to go back to bed to get some rest. And Claudia did not heed her friend's advice. Instead, Claudia went to the kitchen and retrieved 3 knives. Her children were sleeping peacefully upstairs, and she walked upstairs into the bedroom of Alfredo, her youngest child of only 6 years old. Leaning on the child's bed, she grabbed his left hand and started to slash it. She did this in such a frenzy that she completely amputated it. The child was screaming in pain and terror. His mother then attempted to cut off his right hand, and she almost succeeded. But she gave him a series of slashes to the body which killed him. Little Alfredo Antonio was dead, but her mother continued the attack. Claudia then changed the knife. She had decided to use a different one with each child. Awakened by the noise, Alfredo's eldest sister, 11-year-old Claudia Maria, came to the room and begged her mother to stop. But she didn't. She stabbed her daughter 6 times, the fatal blow being the one that punctured her lungs. The little girl still managed to leave the room, trying to protect herself. She said, "No, Mum, no, don't," she shouted, and the screams of pain and despair were so loud that the neighbors woke up. But despite all the noise, they decided not to intervene. Claudia then took the 3rd knife and stabbed her youngest daughter of 9, Ana Belén, in the heart. The little girl did not put up much resistance. Claudia then ran down the stairs in search of her oldest daughter, who was barely alive and had managed to go downstairs. She had fainted and was lying face up. On the floor that divided the living room and the dining room. Claudia stabbed her again, and Claudia then dragged her daughter's lifeless body upstairs and placed her in the main bedroom. She then got the bodies of little Alfredo and his sister Ana Belén and placed them together on her king-size bed, so that all 3 children were together. She covered them with an orange duvet with a white trim, and she cleaned off the 2 knives and took the 3rd, and then tried to cut her wrists and chest, trying to kill herself. The next morning, Veronica Vasquez, Claudia's friend, arrived as promised. She knocked at the door, and eventually Claudia opened it, with her clothes soaked in blood. Veronica first thought that her friend had been attacked, so entered the house. She went upstairs and saw the 3 children laying dead in the bed. Veronica ran out the house and immediately called the police. Claudia went back upstairs and lay with her 3 children. Arrest and trial. When the police arrived, they reported that the interior of the house looked like the setting for a horror movie. The floor of the living room and the stairs leading to the upper floor were stained with blood, as was the corridor between the master bedroom and the bedroom of little Alfredo, the girl's bedroom and the bathroom. On the side of the children was Claudia. Her clothes were also stained with blood, as was the corridor between the master bedroom, the bedroom of little Alfredo, the girl's bedroom, and the bathroom. On one side of the children was Claudia. Her clothes were also stained with blood. Her eyes were half open. The policeman thought that she was also dead, but the commander, Adolfo Duran, looked for the pulse in the neck and discovered that she was still alive. They called the Red Cross and was transferred to the nearby Social Security Hospital. In the corner of the bedroom on an armchair, there were 2 kitchen knives, one of 41 centimeters and the other of 33, both with brown wooden handles and clean. A third knife of 31 centimeters was found in the bedroom of the sisters Claudia Maria and Ana Belén, on the carpet and full of blood. Claudia woke up in hospital, where she was questioned by an agent from the public prosecutor's office. Claudia said that her children were asleep in the house, and that she loved her children very much, and that they're very good children, and they're not naughty. Claudia was sedated and handcuffed while in hospital. Her first statement was taken on April 27th, 1989, at 11:30 a.m., 3 days after she had massacred her children. She blamed the priest who she supposedly loved, Father Ramon. She said that Father Ramon spoke to her telepathically, and that he continued to work mentally, and that her husband also tried getting back with her and worked through her mentally, and the pressure was so great that she lost control. Afterwards, she changed her statement and said that she did not remember anything, only that her friend Veronica had knocked on her door and woken her. She spoke as if her children were alive. The newspapers condemned her crime and called her the hyena of Querétaro. The Mexican authorities made sure she was examined by psychiatrists and neurologists. The doctor's report was a psychiatric, mental, medical, and physical evaluation of Claudia, which resulted in the conclusion that she was suffering from schizoaffective disorder, which is a medical disorder characterized by abnormal thought processes and deregulated emotions. She was also diagnosed to have temporal lobe epilepsy, which is a chronic disorder of the nervous system, characterized by recurrent unprovoked focal seizures that originate in the temporal lobe of the brain and last about a minute or 2. After the medical and psychiatric results were released, it was decided that ordinary criminal procedures should be suspended, and it was agreed by the legal teams that Claudia should receive a 30-year sentence for the triple filicide. Claudia was incarcerated on September 19th, 1991, in the psychiatric annex of the Tepapán Women's Center for Social Readaptation, which is a maximum security prison 16 miles from the city of Toluca. The house where this terrible crime happened is located on Hacienda Vejil Street, in the Jardines de la Hacienda neighborhood of Querétaro, and has been uninhabited since April 24th, 1989. It is now severely vandalized and in a very bad state. People often go to the house just to look at it, and it has now become a morbid tourist attraction for the city, and has led the residents to complain and ask the authorities to build a barbed wire fence to close any access to the interior of the house. The house has apparently been sold on several occasions, but so far no one has actually moved in. The case has never stopped generating public curiosity. Carlos Trejo, who has become famous for studying paranormal cases, claimed that when his team of investigators went to make a video in the house, they saw a girl in the kitchen with bloody pajamas. The book, Evidences of Life After Death, states that the child of a neighbor was playing outside when his ball was kicked into the house. When he went to pick it up, he saw the same ghostly image. There were also videos where movements are recorded without any apparent reason in that house, and people say that a very heavy vibration is felt when they enter the house, and the photographs show shadows which look like children. However, many questions still remain to this tragic story. Now, almost 30 years from when the terrible event happened, Claudia is about to complete her sentence and will be released in June 2019. Will Claudia be ready to integrate back into society? The same society that will not forget her crime and that shook and still affects the lives of the Mexicans in Querétaro. Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening. This has been Mort from Mortis Media covering tonight's video, and a special thanks for Briefcase for allowing me to do this. He did all the research, and I've got to say he did incredibly well. The reason we picked this video was actually because a subscriber submitted their second-hand account of this very story. They actually knew the eldest daughter and tell the story from a slightly different perspective. If you'd be interested in listening, look no further than my channel, where we will be covering this story. You'll be able to find a link at the very end of the video as well as in the description. And again, a huge thank you to Briefcase. If you're not subscribed already, you definitely should, for cases every week. But anyway, for now guys, I'm going to sign off. And stay tuned for the next Briefcase.